Even if the MSME FC passes the order, the implementation has been an issue, and that requires a very different approach, and
Right.
further legislative intervention may be needed in other acts. But currently, it's passing the order in favor of the aggrieved party. But whether that order will ultimately lead to payment in time or not, only time will tell.
Hello and welcome to Macro Decode. MSMEs are crucial for the economy as they are one of the largest contributors to the GDP and jobs. But millions of MSMEs are struggling with delayed payments, limited access to finance, low productivity, outdated technology, and weak global competitiveness. Will the new MSME Development Amendment Bill address all these concerns of the MSMEs and transform them as an engine of economy's growth? Let us talk to Anil Bharadwaj, Secretary General of Federation of Indian Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, FISME. Welcome.
Thank you.
Before we talk about MSME Development Amendment Bill, can you tell me in short, what are the main challenges of the sector?
The traditional challenges remain at the top of every MSME is delayed payment. So they are not getting the payments of their supplies in time if they supply to large company or government enterprises or government itself.
Right.
Second is access to affordable finance. So this is the second complaint that you will hear, no matter what is the size of the industry, typically. The larger the size, the lesser is the problem.
Oh.
Third is the rising concern of complexity in regulation. So
Right.
compliance burden, especially after GST, because whether you're a small company, whether you're a small outfit or medium-sized or large, I think GST compliance has tremendously increased. Add to it
Right.
the traditional issues of labor regulation, environmental quality standards, and so on and so forth. You require much more energy today of the small businesses to comply the regulations. This is the
Right.
third point. And fourth, as you know, that technological upgradation is happening at breakneck speeds. We are having newer and newer products, especially with the infusion of latest technologies. So I think there is a constant race for upgrading products and services for MSMEs. Many times they do not have that much amount of funds to upgrade themselves, and also that are related to competitiveness. You must be hearing that many products which used to be manufactured in India now are freely imported, and imported products are cheaper many times
Right.
and are also of better quality, and where Indian manufacturers, particularly from the micro, small, and medium enterprises segment, find it very difficult to compete. So these 4 or 5 issues are the top challenges.
Government says that the new MSME bill will solve the delayed payment problem. We already have the TReDS platform that mandates that payments should be made within 45 days. So how will the bill help you, if already the TReDS mandates it?
And the purpose is different. TReDS is
Okay.
more of a, you can say, promotional thing, although there is mandatory registration required of companies having a turnover of more than 250 crores. But what it does is basically it has provided platform and a business system, or you can say, so that two type of businesses, a buyer and supplier, can interact with each other.
Right.
But it is not a regulation as such. Whereas in the
Okay.
case of delayed payment provisions under the MSMED Act, there are specific provisions that payments need to be paid in time. And if they are not paid, then penal interest become applicable. So you can't dictate everything to businesses. There are genuine reasons for businesses to pay at a certain time. But at the same time, one has to keep a limit. So 45 days is the limit that has been set. And without any obligation on the part of the buyer, the banking system can come in as a third party and can finance the supplies made by micro and small enterprises. Both are complementary in nature, and what you require at the same time is some kind of a regulation that if things go beyond a certain limit, then there has to be a stick also.
So do you think this is going to solve the problem of delayed payments?
I wouldn't say that. I think it's going to be a step forward. What First of all, it is not a new act. It is just a couple of amendments that are there.
Right.
One, those relates to delayed payments, and by introduction of one online dispute resolution or ODR, MSMED Act provides for MSME facilitation councils,
Right.
MSEFCs, and
Yeah.
aggrieved party, micro and small enterprise can approach the MSEFCs if their buyers are not paying them in time. Filing is often physical and has been taking time. Hearing requires appearances. So the whole process has been lengthy. Although
Okay.
the experience varies from one state to another. Tamil Nadu, for example, is better run, but in many states, it may take months and sometimes even half a year or maybe even 1 year for the cases to come up for hearing, etc. So the
Right.
ODR comes up to shorten this process, to speed things up. So think of it like, moving from a physical courtroom model to a digital platform model. So people can appear from their different places, and the whole process can be speeded up. This is what
Okay.
ODR proposes.
So, implementation was one of the problem because some states have done so, some haven't. And the bill proposes that, there will be more facilitation councils. Is it going to actually fix the problem of implementation?
Even if
Hmm.
the MSMEFC passes the order, the implementation has been an issue, and that requires a very different approach, and
Right.
further legislative intervention may be needed in other acts. But currently, it is ordering or passing the order in favor of the aggrieved party. But whether that order will ultimately lead to payment in time or not, only time will tell.
Right. Yeah. So the implementation is not been addressed properly, even in the amendment bill.
Yes.
Yeah. Now coming to compliance burden is one, as you rightly mentioned, that's a big, huge problem for almost all of the MSMEs. MSMEs deal with multiple requirements like QCOs, GST, labor laws, environmental approvals, factory regulations, local licenses. What does the bill propose in terms of easing these procedures? Does that solve all compliance related issues?
So the bill proposes providing some statutory backing at the Udyam portal and enabling
Okay.
easier data sharing with lenders and government agencies. It also reduces some provisions of criminality that is there with regards to MSMED Act. If you have not given the data in time or some misrepresentation is there, etc., maybe
Hmm.
involuntarily. So the penal provisions have been reduced and
Okay.
made more MSME friendly. But MSMED Act cannot override other acts. Most of the regulation compliances are related to specific acts, whether it is of labor, whether it is of GST or income
Right.
tax, etc. Those would remain. So I think it of course addresses some of the concerns related to MSMED Act, but I think beyond that, I think the Jan Vishwas Bill 1 and 2 are much more powerful than this.
So, what is the status of that bill?
Yes, I think it's going to be introduced in this session of the parliament. And
Hmm.
that's how, when we would come to know the full contours of this proposal that they have made in
Okay.
this amendment bill.
Right. For MSMEs finance, it's a big problem. So we have been having a lot of schemes. Government has been coming out with schemes like CGT, MSE. Many MSMEs still struggle to obtain affordable loans. What does the bill say about this, and how can the problem really be addressed?
The finance is a multifaceted problem. First of all, there is inherent risk in business, and banks ultimately deal with public money. So there is a natural tendency to be doubly watchful to whom they are lending.
Right.
But at the same time, what we can address the concerns of banks and by creating institutions. So CGT MSC credit guarantee has been a very good instrument which
Okay.
gives money back up to 80% to banks in case of default by a particular MSME unit or borrower. But at the same time, let's also be mindful that the legal system in India is relatively slow, and getting the money back or getting possessions of assets takes time, and also selling them off all also takes time. So typically, bankers try to cover their risks by forcing or convincing people to give collateral security. And
Okay.
typically, their insistence is on physical collateral security.
Hmm.
And many MSMEs have you can say difficulties in arranging collateral security. India is a patriarchal society, bearing some parts of Kerala or maybe some parts of Northeast, where the female member of the family would be having the ownership of the household assets. But typically, it is
Right.
the male member who would be having. So if a woman tomorrow wants to set up a business and asks the ownership of the house or of a plot, you can very well visualize that how difficult it is in our kind of society. So
Right.
in the current system, almost 50% of our population finds it difficult to raise funds. And that's why women's participation in MSMEs is relatively less if you compare it with other competing countries. So we need to address this, that how we can come out with more liberal credit guarantees so that bankers are more willing to take risk in order to lend to women entrepreneurs without collateral security. The second jigsaw puzzle that is missing is insolvency and bankruptcy law. One issue here is that currently the insolvency and bankruptcy regulation is applicable only on companies. And 97% of MSMEs are proprietorship partnership firms. Insolvency and bankruptcy law currently does not provide the umbrella of security that is available to otherwise company formats. And that's why you see that more than the farmers, it is the self-employed businesses that commit suicide in India, because there is no structured mechanism to lead a way of life after business failure. It is imprisonment or death. So we need to really come out with a mechanism of insolvency and bankruptcy for partnership and proprietorship firms, for individual self-employed people, so that, if they take risk for starting a business, they should not fear of imprisonment in case of business fails.
You brought out two main points. One is collateral-free loans, and another is insolvency and bankruptcy code for the MSMEs. Now, during the pandemic, government had come out with a scheme for MSMEs, which was collateral-free loans. What is the status of that? How much did it benefit the MSMEs?
There has been a study by NCR that says that, close to 1 lakh crore worth of NPAs have been saved because of this particular scheme. But at the same
Okay.
time, let's not forget that, this scheme was available only to those MSMEs which were having outstanding loans at a given point. And only 20% of the outstanding loan was given as an additional money without collateral security. So it was not grant or something. It was loan that was given with some liberal conditions, that, for example, extended payment provisions, but without collateral security. I mean, that helped quite a bit because it was a short-term dip, and over a period of time, the economy bounced back, and most MSMEs have been able to uh, pay back their loans and came out of this very difficult situation that COVID had put us. Now, similarly, I mean, now after Middle East crisis, many exporters to Middle East as well as to US, they were affected very badly, and government came out with ECLGS 5.0, more or less the same provisions. The government may also come out something for exporters which are affected by Middle East crisis. Even if you did not have any loan, some 20% additional limit or some kind of amount is fixed quickly based on the past performance criteria, using data sets like, total turnover, payment cycles, the quality of payments behavior, CIBIL scores, etc.
Okay. So should this be an ongoing kind of a scheme, or should it be applied only when we have a crisis?
It could be an ongoing scheme. See, we are living in a very different kind of world now. So for the last
Right.
10 years or so, I think we have seen that, world disturbances are the new normal. And I think we should be ready. MSMEs find it very difficult when they hit such a patch. And when one such incident, one major buyer going broke or filing insolvency, one major buyer abroad going bust, some kind of crisis here and there, and suddenly they find it very difficult to sustain their business. So I think in periods like this, if there is a scheme that can handhold them, it could be very, very helpful.
Right. As you earlier pointed out, technological upgradation is one of the major issues. Technology is moving fast across the globe. So, how can the government help the MSMEs upgrade their technology and compete with the global manufacturing giants?
Typically, in most of the sectors, as MSMEs are concentrated in specific clusters,
Right.
producing specific products. So one important feature is in the clusters, you will find that there is kind of a path dependency in technology. They are using same or similar type of machines. When you want to improve technological upgradation you want to have in the MSME segment, you'll have to work not just for the MSMEs, but with the suppliers of machines. You have also work with MSMEs in order to know that where from their products are getting competition. And then study that what is the difference or what is the gap in technology between the competing nations. Say, for example, China or
Right.
Taiwan or whatever. And then we try to work out to bridge the gap between the imported machinery and our machinery with the help of our institutions that are available, engineering colleges, IITs, and the CSIR labs, and so on and so forth. But the one issue is that, we don't know how to collaborate to address a specific issue. If we identify certain specific product categories, we identify the cluster and the technological gaps, and we work with the help of technical institutions, we can bridge that gap. FISME has been advocating that we need to have some kind of a national technology mission for MSMEs.
If you look at today's manufacturing, it operates through global value chains. How are our MSMEs equipped to become a part of this global value chains? And does the bill say anything about this?
See, first of all, after so many years now, there is an opportunity. This China plus one thing, which was being talked about 10 years ago, is totally a
Right.
reality. And they
Right.
are very seriously looking at contenders who can do this job. I think we tick most of the boxes in order to attract global value chains so that our suppliers can join in. Now, what we need to, or what is holding us back, are a couple of things. One is that government has to work on policy, industrial policy. They have started working like PIL schemes, and we have seen some successes also. But I think it has to come down to MSME level, where through
Yeah.
policy as well as through other financial support, MSMEs, particularly micro and small enterprises, they grow up to medium-sized enterprises and large enterprises, and then they become or they connect to and link to global value chains. Micro
Yeah.
and small enterprises would not be able to really join in the GVCs because of the complexity and the commitment that is needed to be part of those chains. I think it would be medium-sized enterprises, but unfortunately, out of 8 crore enterprises in the MSME sector, we may not have more than 25,000 medium-sized enterprises. That is too small a number to be global players and to be working really in global value chains. MSMEs are part of global supply chain in Bangladesh and several more definitely in China.
So you have made a few very valid points. One is China plus one strategy. But in many sectors we haven't benefited from that. Our competitors like Bangladesh or Vietnam or Philippines have actually benefited from this. That is one thing. And also you mentioned about PLI and DLI schemes. That has mainly gone to large companies, maybe probably a little bit here and there for the medium companies. But micro and small enterprises are out of this purview of PLI schemes. Now, you also mentioned about how they have to grow. In your opinion, does the current definition and incentives given to MSMEs force firms to stay small and retain their benefits? What should the government do that the MSMEs grow up and become large, a medium to large?
See, so far as the definitions are concerned, I would say perfectly okay. The
Okay.
problems are in several other acts. First of all, we can begin, for example, delayed payment itself. If I'm micro and a small company and if my buyer doesn't pay me, then I can at least take them to MSME FC and some kind of mechanism is available. But the moment I cross the small and I become medium, I'm out of the system. Big support which is available to micro small enterprises suddenly is denied to medium enterprises. Not only just in delayed payment provisions, but almost all other acts also is very specifically written to micro and small enterprises, not the medium enterprises. So I think this dichotomy between micro and small on one side and the medium size on the other side somehow gives a message that the moment you go out from small to medium, then all these benefits would be withdrawn. And that creates some kind of a glass ceiling. And so typically, the moment you start touching the turnover of small enterprises, instead of growing upwards vertically, people would put up another small factory and another small
Right.
factory over the years,
That's
rather
true.
than
That's
having
true.
a vertical mid-size factory. Another example is the labor laws. So if you employ 10 people, less
Right.
than 10 people, so you don't have to be included in the ESI and PF. The moment you start employing more people, then suddenly the weight of compliance has become enormous for a small sized company. That's why 99% of MSMEs are micro enterprises, because the cost of regulation is tremendous the moment you cross the threshold from micro to small. So I think all these inherent uh, perverse laws that are there, perverse incentives that are in the system, that need to be withdrawn, allowing or facilitating a natural growth from micro to small to medium enterprises.
In short, do you think the bill will solve the major pain points of the MSMEs, or do the MSMEs need a major policy overhaul to become more competitive and efficient?
The bill in the current shape, as much as I know, the bill is relatively not very ambitious in amending. So it is addressing only three issues. One that are
Right.
related to ODR or delayed payment provisions, one
Right.
on reducing the cost of compliance, especially related to MSME Act.
So that was Mr. Anil Bharadwaj, Secretary General of FISME. The bill is trying to address a few pain points, like the delayed payments and compliance burden to an extent. If the MSMEs have to be competitive globally, we need to have a thorough policy change and, address each of the issues separately so that, MSMEs can grow and become bigger and play a large role in export and as well as manufacturing. Thank you for joining me in the show.